So in this tutorial we're going to look at the Emergency Response Guidebook, and that is indicated by either clicking directly onto the shortcut icon here where it says Toxic Industrial Materials, or you can go up to Documentation on the menu bar at the top, click onto here and then go to Industrial there. So if I click onto Industrial from this position here, then the Emergency Response Guide will be shown in a database. So the Emergency Response Guide can be used either as reference material that the operator can look at certain materials and then look at various bits of information that's associated with that material, or the Emergency Response Guide can be used as part of a calculation inside a CBRN message report. This particular version here, we are using the Emergency Response Guide, which I'll cut down to the ERG. So we're using the ERG 2016, and that's because we are now using this guide as part of the NATO publications, i.e. the ATP 45 Foxtrot publications, where they indicate that we should be using the latest Emergency Response Guide calculations. Obviously, the Emergency Response Guidebook is reproduced every 4 years for those people that are in the know. So the latest version is supposed to be out in 2020. However, due to the release of the software at the beginning of the year and the release of this particular publication, the ERG 2020, that has not come to fruition yet. So even though if you look on various websites in 2020, as we are now in April of 2020, you can take orders for the ERG 2020 for a hard copy version or download a PDF version, but to actually get that into the software is not applicable and hasn't been done in version 20 so far. So we'll probably have to wait until version 21 and then we'll have a look. As you as operators or users of the software already know, that if you go to File, let me just cancel on that, and then if we go to File, Properties, go into Setup, then the Setup window will open. And then we can go down into calculations, click on there, go down to Chem 2.3. We can see here is where you can allocate which database you wish to use as far as the ERG is concerned. We have still left the old one in 2012, 2016, but I'm sure for version 21 we may upgrade this from 2016 and also include 2020 ERG and remove the 2012 ERG for use. So like I said, you should be using the 2016. If you're not using the 2016 for whatever national procedures or purposes and you're working with other nations, then please ensure that in Gentext or somewhere on the reports you're going to send, you're going to indicate as to which ERG you're using, whether the current one for the ATP 45 Foxtrot 2016 or the previous one 2012. Okay, so I'm set up for 2016 and I'm just going to leave it there. So let's go back then, and I'll just click onto that to stop it flashing, and this time I'll go to the shortcut icon here instead of going up to Documentation. Carries out the same process. It will open up the ERG database. So inside here are various different materials, not just for chemical but also radiological and biological, but we mainly use it on the chemical side for when we fill out a CBRN-1 chemical report. But like I said, it can be used for bio or rad if required, but the majority of the materials in here are chemical compounds or chemical material based. You either look at the number or you place in the name of the material. Whichever way you're going to do it, then if you're just using it for reference, you can either, if you know the number, place the number in, or the name of the material, you can place the name of the material in. Please be aware, if you're going to place in the name of the material, there is no spell checker inside the CBRN-Analysis database. The ERG one that you're seeing here on the screen. So you need to spell the name of the material correctly, because if you don't spell it correctly, let me just give you an example. So let's delete this out, and then if I place and ask it to find, then because I haven't spelled phosgene correctly, it's not going to find that particular material. So you do need to spell the name of the material correctly. Okay. So the database is broken down to the index, showing all the different types of materials that are in there. And as you know from the ERG is broken down into various colored sections: white, yellow, blue, orange, and green. Green is indicated inside the database here, and that's because that is an index of the toxic inhalation hazards of water reactive substances, and they're listed in numerical order in green. So you can find the information in green on isolation and protective distance measures associated with small and large spills when you click onto the actual green levels here. So like I said, if you click onto there and go to distances, you'll have the full distances for small, large, and also including fire. The guide, there are several different guides inside the emergency response guide book itself, but a lot of the guides are replicated on different materials, so just be aware of that. There are not as many guides as what there are materials inside. So there's quite a few thousand different materials. There's not a few thousand different guides. There's only a relative small number, and they're just reproduced against the different materials. Also, if you wanted to, and you want to look at the actual book itself, the Emergency Response Guide 2016, there is the icon here where you can open up that particular guide as a PDF, as long as you have a correct PDF reader that's located on your particular device that you're using. So there we go, and you can have a look at the ERG in that context, or again, depending on the PDF or the reader that you're using, then you can click onto the search and then you can just place in whatever you want to find. Let's just pick a number like that, then ask it to find, and then it will find that. So it's 1 of 7, and that's the first one it's gone to, which is indicating chlorine. Okay, so you can look up that way and just use it as reference material if required to look up various bits of information. So let's close that down. I think that's enough on the actual database itself. The only other thing to be aware of, you can see at the top here, it does indicate that the ERG does contain some warfare agents. So if you find a warfare agent and it's in a small, so that's up to 2 kilograms, or large up to 25, and you're going to place that in set Gulf, then those agents are available there to be used as a weapon, and you can see the ones that are indicated there at the top. So please be aware of that, where the pointer is now. So let's go cancel, and what we're going to do is actually just create a template just to show you that, using the CBRN message reports. I'm going to select a CBRN1, I'm going to create the CBRN1, bring it onto the screen. I can close that down. I can just do it this way. What I'm going to do is start to fill out a CBRN1 chemical report and then use the ERG. So first thing I need then is the location of whatever we're dealing with, and we're going to say there's been a spillage here from this particular building complex here, just as an example. So what I can do is I can right click on here, I can copy this point to clipboard and then right click and then paste that grid in there. So that's where it's observed, and that's also the location of where the incident has happened. So I've got both those grids in there, and then I'm going to place it in a time. So the time I'm going to use is the date, and then we'll just go that as a particular time. For the Foxtrot, I've already got the grid in, but I'm going to make it an actual grid. And then down into these fields here, where I can say it's observed, I'm going to go that it's a generic storage container. I'll just say it's 1. I'm going to go for weight. I'm going to go for, we're estimating 15 kilograms, and that has been spilt onto the surface. And then here we can list the agents, but this is mainly for war chemical if we want a war chemical template, unless we don't know what the toxic industrial material is that we're using, and we can't use the ERG. So I don't know if I can push this report a little bit further up, and then it might have to push it up a little bit further, just so that you can see you do have the ability, if you don't know what the toxic industrial material is that you're going to be using, so you can't use the ERG, you can then select the toxic industrial chemical in here, and that automatically tells the software to do a default worst case template, which it will then produce down. It will not be a precise measurement, so that again is dictated by the ATP45, so it just takes that default template and then places it down. Normally 1K by 3 kilometers would be placed in if you selected that. We don't want that in there. What we want to do is actually use the ERG. So we're going to click onto the ERG, and then we need to place in the material, either by placing in the name or placing in the number. We're just going to take ammonia and indicate that it has been an ammonia release. Now before we go OK, we need to click in to add this information into the report so it actually picks up the name, because quite a few of the materials have the same number. Okay, so you can see down here 110 has 3 materials associated with it. If you go 1076, which is phosgene, there are multiple materials associated with that. So in which to help you as the operator or the user of the software, and also to send a report, as far as what we have done is you have the ability to add the name of the material to the report. So make sure you place a tick in the box here and then go OK, and when you do that it will give you the ID number here, but also give you the name of the material that's been selected. So we will say just a hyphen in there, I think, and this is a new field, so we're going to say it's active, and then we're going to say that it is a spill. So we shall go spill. There we go. That's enough. You don't have to use the first field if you don't want to. In these particular reports, as far as ATP45 Foxtrot is concerned, it's mainly used for the CBRN-6 report. So it depends what your procedures are and how you want to interpret the information in this field in the other reports. So I've got enough information in here. I shall also use this one, and I'll say it's continuous, and then I'll just go OK. Oh, it's saying that Bravo 2 haven't placed in a hyphen in there. Do I want to insert a dash or a hyphen? Yes, I do, and then go OK. So now that is where the incident is happening, and if I calculate to update, I've then got my template. Once I've got the template, then I just carry out the normal procedures. I would normally click on to the skull and crossbones, check units at risk, but I can see visually on the map there's no units around there, so I don't need to do that. I can just go straight to the CBRN-2 chemical report, which has already been made for me, and all I have to do now is just add in any additional information that I want to add into here, which is, let me close this down, the incident serial number. I'm not going to talk here in detail about the val code set or the alpha set where the incident serial number goes in. Again, there are new rules and procedures that are associated with that, and again you need to look at the ATP45 Foxtrot to see how you're supposed to use the incident serial number. Okay, whether it's local or an official serial number in relationship to the val code and the alpha. So I'm just going to put some information in here for this particular incident. Like I said, it does not relate to the actual information that you are supposed to put in here. So I've done that, look through the report, happy with the information. If I want to add some gen text in, I can do that in upper and lowercase if I wish. I can then approve the report if I want to. Also, I have the ability to go back into the ERG database. I can then go to guide, and if I wish to extract any bits of information from the guide, I can do that if I want. So I can highlight some information. No point right clicking and looking for copy. That doesn't work in this particular database. You have to use the keys on the keyboard of the PC or the laptop or whatever hardware device you're using, and then go Control C to copy that information, and then you can paste it either into notes or you can put it into attachments if you physically want it sent as part of the message. Once I've done all that, then I can approve the CBRN-2 chemical report that relates to a toxic industrial chemical incident, and approve it, calculate to update, and then that's template complete. And then that is how to use the ERG inside the software, either as part of reference material or using it as part of a calculation.